Alright guys, so now we're moving on to starting to build on the block and everything. And the first thing that we're going to do that we can get to real easy is we want to put the piston cooling nozzles in. These are the piston cooling nozzles. I have gotten a new set of these. These are very important. These will go down in the block, and basically there's ports, there's like a channel throughout the block that oil goes pumps through and everything to lubricate everything. It lubricates the crank, it lubricates the cam, also lubricates the pistons. Oil gets sprayed up at the bottom of the pistons, and on your piston the bottom ring is the oil ring, and that's where the oil gets to, and then it pulls the oil back down so it doesn't get up into the actual cylinder and stuff, but it lubricates inside of the piston. That's what keeps that out from wearing. And if one of these get bolted up in there, and it's just basically a little tube, and then they're brazed in there and stuff, and if one of these gets blocked or it gets bent, doesn't line up right or whatever, then what will happen is you will not have lubrication in that piston, and you could stuck a piston. It's called, what would be over here, somebody, I stuck a piston. That's basically what it means, is you stop getting oil up into that piston, lubrication, and the piston went dry, and eventually it overheated and just basically melts into the block and becomes one. So these are new and everything, but they have a coating on them so they don't rust and everything. So I'm cleaning them up, and basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking some brake cleaner, and I have just taken and I just sprayed them all, the whole thing, all in one deal. And then what I do is I'll spray inside the nozzle tip and make sure it comes out the other end. Okay, and I'm going to do that to each one. Alright, so we have our block, and it's upside down right now, so it's just easier to work on it. But you can see right down here, this are where the oil coolers for the piston go to. And basically right here they are, and all you're going to do is you're going to set it down on there, right there. And then you just put the bolt in there and stuff, and you want to Loctite that bolt in, and the torque rating for that is 98 inch-pounds. There we go. Our oil cooler pistons, or oil coolers for our pistons, are in. Oil jets. And so now oil will spray up into the cylinders that will lubricate the pistons. So our next step is going to be dropping the crank in this thing. So I got to clean the crank all up and everything, get all the residue off of it, clean that all up real good and everything, and get that ready to drop in there. Alright guys, we got our crank all cleaned up, and all of our film cleaned off of it that keeps from rusting and stuff. And these are our main bearings that came in our kit. Everything is in standard size. So basically you just want to look through them. The ones that I need, you can say they're going to be on the bottom now, but they're actually the top bearings, because the motor is upside down. They have holes in them. So those are the ones that you want first. So we'll open these up. This knife is about as sharp as... I can't think of anything to relate to it. It's very dull. And you have one that's a thrust bearing, and so it kind of goes around the whole thing, and it's actually got wear plates on each side of it too, and that is going to be your number 5. This is actually the back of the engine. Front of the engine is over here, and it's going to be number 5. And then you got your little tang right there, and that little tang right there on the block, there's a little groove right there too where they match up, and you put them in there, and then when you put the cap on and you put the bearing on there, it's going to be the opposite way in the cap, and then they keep them, and that way the bearings can't turn, they can't spin. That little tank keeps them locked in place. So to install these, all you do is just put them in, and you just roll them in. Do not put lube or anything else. You want to have the surface all clean right here and stuff, which I've already done. And you just roll them in like that with the tanks matching up. So that's the only one that's different. And you're going to see the light shine right down into the cam bearing. That way you know you got open orifice for the oil to flow for the crank and up to the cam. Everything's all good. So next we're going to put assembly lube on them. And I'm a big advocate of AMSOIL. Not sponsored by AMSOIL or nothing else. But this stuff is made in the U.S. It's made in Minnesota, actually. Well, this is Superior. It's pretty much Minnesota. Superior, Wisconsin. But AMSOIL is a company that makes oils and everything else. And they actually got some really good technology going into their oils and stuff. I've done some research on some of the stuff and checking out different oils in the past and everything. I'm always interested in looking at different things like that. And I can tell you what, AMSOIL, they got it going on. I'm actually going to be putting AMSOIL oil in this truck, and one of the main reasons why is I'm putting their full synthetic AMSOIL oil in here, and one main reason why is we've done a lot of testing with cold starting on diesels. And when you cold start a diesel, the oil, you know, it's known, you know, semis, whatever, they're known that, you know, when you have a cold engine, you start it over, it has a growl to it, starts up and everything, and you know your oil is real thick and everything, and it takes a while. You don't want to rev it and everything, you just want to kind of let it warm up, you know, with an idle and stuff. And the oil is real thick until it gets warmed up. With this 100% synthetic stuff that AMSOIL makes, I've seen it on there where they've done like tests and stuff and showed it like -40 and the consistency of the oil. It's crazy how consistent it is, at -40 all the way up to like 300 or 400 degrees. It's really kind of crazy. And being from the UP, guess what? Well, I have cold starts. We have a lot of cold start. Get a little bit more, put it on each side of the thrust washer, the thrust bearing there. So it's not a huge crank. There we go. Got her all set back into place. See, it's all been really nice and polished and everything. This crank has been manga fluxed. So what those thrust bearings do on the end, it has those side plates on over those weigh bars. That keeps your crank from going back and forth. So if you get play this way, that's why it has those wear tabs on it, so the crank cannot go back and forth. So you don't want to turn this thing and spin this around right now with these in there, because you can actually spin the bearings right back out. It happens. But so now I got to get the main caps. All right, guys, we are ready to go. We've got all our main caps all cleaned up. The process that I do with that is I have a parts cleaner down there, and I have that in there, and it's just basically like simple green parts cleaner, but it's a water base. So I usually scrub everything up with the brushes and everything else, clean everything up real good, and then I blow it off, and then I usually have like a smaller bucket of acetone that I put into it. Then I brush everything down again, and then blow everything off real nice, clean up the surfaces and everything, and then I have all the bearings installed already, and I have them all lubed up, ready to go in. I'll show you guys some of the old bearings that came out of here. It's really not that bad. It was just starting to wear into the copper. It's not bad. 300 and I can't remember what the mileage was. But I mean, it's really not too worn. There's no big, huge gouges or nothing else. That one there got into the copper a little bit right there. But I am going to be putting back the main cap bolts. I never reuse head bolts again. That you should never do that. But I thought that I ordered a main cap stud kit for this too, but I didn't. I ordered these. This is from Gator, and I got this from the Jelibuilt, and it was something that he recommended. And they're a heavy duty head stud kit, and I could swear that I ordered one of those kits too, but I looked back at my invoice and I didn't. And that's fine. I'll get started on here and I'll show you, and I'll tell you guys why. But basically, the main caps, if you look at them, they actually have a number printed right on them. And so, like, this is number 2, and it's got an arrow that's pointing that way. The arrow goes towards the front of the engine. So that one is going to go right here. And if you look at it, you see how this tang is on this bearing right here? It's on this side. If you look down on this one, the tang is on this side. So when you flip it over, see how the tangs are opposite each other? That's what keeps your main bearings from spinning, is the two tangs that go against each other like that, so that these bearings cannot spin. So that's how that works. So let's get this started and put this all together. So we'll just start with number 1. And don't really matter, we're just gonna place them on here. But I have all the bearings all lubed up and everything. You don't want to have a bunch of oil sitting on the flat surfaces here. So you want to put the arrows towards the front, and you just get them placed in there. And what I do is I dip the bolts. There's 2 short, 2 long bolts, and I dip the bolts in oil. And then I let them lay out here on the paper towel and stuff, and the oil all runs off them. You don't want a whole bunch of oil. If you get a bunch of oil down in there, what's going to happen is all the oil is going to go into the bottom of the bolt hole, and then it's going to hydrolock, and it's going to give you a false reading on your torque. So you just want a little coating of oil on them, that's all. We're gonna get all these placed on here real quick. There we go. And the first one is, the torque sequence for this is to start in the middle. So you want to start on the middle cap, and you want to do the outside bolts. So like 1, 2, then you come back to the inside with 3, 4. Then you can move to this one, or you can move to this one, or whatever, but you do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to be torquing at 76 foot-pounds. And when I'm first putting it down, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit to make sure to pull the cap down straight. Okay, so we're going to do 76 foot-pounds. There we go, the first cap is tightened. And we turn our crank, make sure our crank is going tight or going good. Everything's rotating, which is good. And we can move to either one, doesn't matter. So I can actually turn the crank by hand now. Nice and smooth. So now we have to go to the next step, which is we have to torque them again. And we're going to torque them at 96 foot-pounds. There we go. We are complete. There we go. Nice. Nice and smooth. Very nice. Alright guys, let's throw this cam in here. Oh. So if you look on the crank here, there is a timing mark on here. It's right here. It's a little O. And it's right on that tube. So all we're going to do is we're going to, I don't know if I can turn it backwards without loosening the bolt. Yeah, okay. So we're going to set that at 12 o'clock. We got our motor sitting the way it's supposed to, upright. And we're going to set that at 12 o'clock. And the camshaft, I cleaned all the journals and everything, and had like a sticky residue from the shipping and everything. And it is a stage 2 cam. I'm not really going for the power wise, but it's going to help with fuel economy and should make it run better too. But all the journals are all got the assembly lube in there, using that AMSOIL assembly lube. And I have every journal completely covered with assembly lube. I have cleaned this cam and have everything just coated. Basically what you're going to do is you're just going to start feeding it in there. And you just need to be gentle. It's going to be it's a long process. You got to get it all in there. Just kind of wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And you want to be very careful not to do that. You're going to get past the next one. And it's just working your way in there. And then you get closer in there, you kind of have to push on the bottom side of the cam to get the back journal to kind of line up. So now we're almost into it there. So now we got to try to match up our timing mark on here. This is really the only timing mark we have. We're going to try to do it so it's 12 o'clock. You got to remember that these teeth are angled, so you kind of got to start a little bit offset, and it's going to turn it back just a bit. Okay. I think I'm one tooth off. Nope, perfect. So right there, you can see the two timing marks. You can see it right here, right there. Gotta make sure those are lined up correctly. Very, very important. So next is putting the 2 bolts in here that hold this. There's 2 bolts right here that go in here. One here, and then it's behind here. You're gonna have to turn the crank to get to it. But we'll put the first one in, and these are put in at 18 foot-pounds. Oh, my battery died on my camera. I'm not used to shooting with my camera anymore. I'm doing so much with my phone. We got the first bolt in there. So now we just turn it, and then you can get to the second bolt right here. You want to leave that one loose so you can move the plate around. Go. Got myself an air leak or something on my compressor. It's just constantly stops for maybe a minute or 2 minutes, and then she fires up again. Got something leaking going on someplace. All right. So 18 foot-pounds of torque. Just a little bit extra. Like 20. But there we go. So that the cam is installed. So the cam is all installed. Crank is installed. That's good. Feels really nice and smooth. Timing marks are right perfect with each other. So we are all set there. So I think I'm going to let you guys go. Camera is dying and everything else, and I'm thinking, man, maybe that's a sign. Maybe I should just give her an end for tonight. We got the crank and we got the cam put in there. We got the cooling nozzles for the pistons put in there, cam bearings, all that stuff. Got all that stuff put in there. Next we'll be we'll be putting together connecting rods. Those have been all rebuilt. I still do have the original connecting rods. I did think about putting some bigger connecting rods in them and stuff, but I just didn't see the point of it. And I had a machine shop check them out and everything, and they came back to me and said they're perfect, and they're not worn, not stretched, and everything's good. So I decided to stay with them because the new connecting rod set for this motor was $2,400. That's a lot of money to drop in connecting rods. And if I was going to boost it and add 75 horse to it, I would have, but I'm not going to. So I'm not worried about it at all. So, but they do have new wrist pin bearings put in them, and all pressed in them and everything else. And everything's been magnafluxed and everything else. So the connecting rods, got to put those together with the pistons, and then start dropping pistons in this thing and get the pistons put in. And I got to get the lifters put in oil because they're hydraulic lifters, so you got to put those in oil and let them soak in oil. It sucks all the oil into the lifter. Get that done so I can drop all the lifters in, and then we can do the hold down plates for the lifters and put the heads on. So we're moving along, starting to actually get some pieces and parts put on this motor. So I'm going to let you guys go. I hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day, great night as they watch this here video. And if you're not, well, certainly try it all over again tomorrow. Or you could do some therapeutic stuff like this and rebuild a 7.3 liter diesel motor. Power stroke. I'm excited to get my truck running again. Alrighty guys, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.